everyone, and good evening for myself, and good morning and good afternoon for wherever you are, and welcome back to the Nature for All Love Fest. And we're here now with to continue our nature love story event, where we have some amazing women who are going to join us in a couple of seconds and share their stories. I'm going to bring in our moderator for the next few sessions, Christina. Hello, Christina. How are you?
Hello, Yosei. Very good, thank you. Thank you so
All
much for
right.
having me.
Well, I'm so happy you could be here. From Australia, no less.
Yeah,
I think we've got a really good group coming in to share their
definitely.
stories. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to turn it over to you if you don't mind. I'm going to
Yep,
be in the background, and I look forward to hearing the stories.
excellent. Thank you so much, Jose. I'll just quickly first introduce myself. So, my name is Christina Renowden, and I work at the Rylah Institute for Environmental Research, which is a research branch of our state environment government department called the Department of Energy, Environment and Climate Action. Before I do get going, though, a tradition that we hold in Australia is to acknowledge the First Nations people's land that we are on. So I would like to acknowledge that I'm coming to you today from the unceded lands of the Bunurong and Wurundjeri Woiwurrung peoples of the Eastern Kulin Nations, which I'm in Naarm, or you also might know it as Melbourne in Victoria, Australia. And I'd like to pay my deep respect and gratitude to the elders, past, present, and future, who have cared for this magnificent country for over 60,000 years. And it really is a great honour to be with you here today with the special women guests that we have coming on and living and working on Bunurong and Wurundjeri country. And I'd like to pay my respects to any First Nations peoples in Australia and indeed around the world today who may be joining in. So thank you for having me, and I'm really excited to talk a little bit more about nature connection, how we love and be with nature, and all the different types of work that our wonderful guests are doing in this space. So as part of my role, I also coordinate the Victoria Nature Festival, which is very much similar to this storytelling festival, where we get people involved in connecting, acting, and valuing nature. And we work closely with First Nations communities and traditional owners, as they are the experts in how we live and be in and live as nature. So excellent to have them all here today. So, firstly, our first guest that we're going to bring in, her name is Hilda Stewart, and she is the Interpretation and Information and Education Officer with Parks Victoria. Hi, Hilda. How are you going?
Good, thanks, Christina.
Thank you so much for coming in. Um, uh, so maybe just tell us. Do you want to tell us where you're sort of coming from, like where you're situated, and then we can get talking a little bit more about nature and your connections to nature.
Yeah, well, situated in Nathalia, at the Parks Victoria office there. So
Yeah,
on Yorta Yorta country.
Yorta
Yeah,
country in Victoria. So
mhm,
that's sort of like
in
the
Victoria.
northern
Yeah,
part of Victoria.
that's right.
Yeah. Is the Murray River near where you are, or not quite?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. Just trying to give people a geographical sort of location to get an idea where you're tuning in from. So let's get talking about your personal connection to nature, or maybe also you want to maybe talk about what nature means to you and how you talk and feel about nature.
Yeah, well, when I think of nature, I think of connection to country. My own connection to country. You know, in Parks Victoria, they have a motto that says, you know, healthy parks, healthy people. But we have our own healthy
Mm,
country, healthy mob.
mm,
Um, Also, connection to country means it's a way of healing and getting out on country.
mm,
Um, and, you know, it's, um, and our mob have been connected to nature since millennium. So, you know, and you just don't appreciate things until you get out there and get in. And, you know, we have the privilege every day to get out on country and into nature. And that's how we connect with our creation stories, and it also connects us to who we are. Um, yeah.
mm. Can you think of any sort of experiences or in nature that you've had that have really stood out for you, or maybe as a child, something that was kind of really transformative in the way that you felt really deeply connected to country?
Well, it was trips out to the bush with my parents,
Mm,
growing up, um, to special places.
yeah.
And I
Yep.
mean, as a child, you don't take much notice until later on in life.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, so you're able
Yeah.
to reconnect again.
Yeah. What you were
Yeah,
feeling back then to the kind of
yeah, that's right.
how you go about you now and the work that you're doing. Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Excellent. And how do you sort of in your work, what sort of work do you do in inspiring other people to connect with nature and educating them through your role with Parks Victoria?
Well, it's because of interpretation education. Um, we spend a lot of time with visitors that come on country.
Hmm.
So that's school groups, bush kinder. Um, so it's been able to get out on country and teach
Mm,
others what I've learnt over the years and to pass on my knowledge.
yeah.
So yeah.
So what sort of things do you do with sort of like do you work with school groups or with the bush kinders? Like what do the little tackers get up to?
We normally take them on walks and point
Yeah.
out different um, things in nature to them.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, it might be bush art,
Hmm.
might be just doing things near the river and explaining the creation story of how the Murray River was created.
Mm,
Um, yeah, so they can do that in art as well.
yeah.
Yeah, and
That's
just reading
beautiful.
stories to them, as
Mm,
well. So yeah.
yeah. I personally have a real love of bringing art into the conversation of nature connection and how we, relate to place as well. Um, how do you find art sitting in that space, working with people to get them to sort of
I
maybe
mean,
feel more
it's
emotionally connected?
I mean, it's their interpretation
Mm,
on
yep.
how they think their art should be, because I mean, the artist is the storyteller,
Yeah.
um,
Yep.
on what they're painting.
Yep.
Yeah, and no one else can interpret that but them.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. Um, and one of the other questions that we wanted to talk about with you was this idea of nature for all, or maybe you might say country for all. What does that
Mm.
mean to you?
Well, I mean, each area has their own uniqueness,
Mm,
and I mean, it's great that everyone can get out and enjoy what's in their own backyard.
mm, yep.
Mm.
Just finding opportunities and being really open to country and nature in all areas, like urban
Mm.
areas, regional
That's
areas.
exactly right.
Yeah, that it's all
There's a
around
lot of
us.
there's a lot of people that don't get the opportunity to
Mm,
be able to do that.
yep.
And like I mentioned before, we're um, you know privileged to be able to do that every day in our work roles.
Mm, yep. Yep. Very lucky, but amazing work that you're doing with all the different parts of the community, I'm sure. So excellent. Is there anything else you wanted to add into any of our questions that we've talked about so far?
No, I
No.
think
We might.
Bon and
We've got a
Greta will
few.
answer
Yeah.
those. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, we'll come back to you, Hilda. Stay in the background, and we'll bring everyone back in for a discussion after we've had a chat with Bonnie and Greta as well. So I think Bonnie's going to come online now. We have Bonnie now. You might have to help me with the pronunciation of your second name, Joachim.
Joachim.
Joachim. Okay, cool. And Bonnie is a Yorta Yorta Ranger with Parks Victoria. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your what you do in your role and yeah, the work that you're doing with Parks Victoria?
So every day I get to work out on Yorta Yorta country, and my specific place where I work is Barmer National Park. So I implement the joint management plan that come out within the Barmah National Park, and I get to educate visitors about the park and it's a unique part of the world, and implement all the strategies that come out of the joint management plan.
Excellent. So when we're talking about nature, what does that kind of mean for you, and also in terms of your connection to it? How do you feel that plays a part in your life and the work that you do?
Well, my connection to country started from like when I was little, and I used to go to work with my father and follow him to meetings and all different places. And he actually worked in Barmah when I was young.
Wow.
So he worked for Yorta Yorta Nations
Yeah.
for about 10 years. And like one of the places, obviously, he used to go out to the Barmah National Park all the time, which I would follow him out.
Yeah.
And I guess that's where I got that inspiration to become like to be in this role I am in today. So
Yep. Excellent. And so it's usually, I just were talking to Hilda about those sort of experiences that you have as a child, that often come out later in life, in things that you follow and the passions that you grow, I think, over time. So yep, those childhood experiences in nature definitely are a common theme, I think, throughout a lot of
yeah.
type of work that we do. Um, so in the work that you do with Parks Victoria as a ranger, how do you work with communities and others to inspire them to connect with nature, or educate them about country, and what that means, and how people can care for country?
I've been doing junior rangers,
Yeah.
and as part of educating little children, I run all different, as you'd say, like nature activities and run them out in the park, or mostly they're all outside. And they're probably the biggest thing that I run to
Mm.
share my knowledge and share what activities we're running that day,
Yep.
all about nature and caring for country, and
Mm.
try and leave that impression on them that how we care for country.
Yeah. And so just for people that don't know, what is the Junior Rangers program in general?
So it's ages 6 to 12, and the
Uh-huh.
public can join up as a little junior ranger, and the parents bring them along, and the parents join in,
Hmm.
and we'll run previous all different activities, and they all come with a meaning of how to care for country or care for the nature.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yep. And what sort of activities might you do with the little kids out on country?
We've done fishing and
Yeah.
mini beasts, where you collect uh, mini like little creatures in the water and
Oh,
with
yeah, yeah.
nets and catch
Oh,
them. Bird
excellent.
watching, just to
Mm.
name a few, and just our connection to country. We actually have an activity that we
Mm.
talk about our country and all Yorta Yorta country.
Yeah, excellent. And have you had any sort of, I guess, responses from kids that have been part of your program, like any feedback, or things that you think, yes, I've helped that child connect in a certain way, or they're not as scared as little mini beasts anymore, or something?
They come to if we run one, they
Yeah.
seem to come to all the other activities. So
Yeah.
it
Okay.
seems to, and I do that with the aunts, Aunty Hilda and Aunty Greta. So
Yeah.
it's really good. Like the three
Oh,
of us get
beautiful.
to all do it together and
Yeah.
all learn off each other.
Yeah. That's great, having that sort of intergenerational um, feel to it as well, for
Yeah.
those that are
Well,
coming along.
yeah, I've learned
Mm.
so much off them. So it's
Yeah, that's
great.
excellent. Yep. And do you, Hilda talked a little bit about what she was sort of saying, healthy country, healthy mob. I know Parks Victoria have a strategy called Healthy Parks, Healthy People. How does being on country help with your health and well-being, or your spiritual health. Is there an element of that for you as well?
I guess I was always taught to, if we were to take anything off the country, is only take what you need and don't take more than what you need. So I think when we do take what we need, always give back where you can.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really great way to look at things. I think that reciprocal, give and take relationship, not just taking from
Yeah,
nature.
respect the land that you're on.
Yeah.
Always.
Yep. 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 Beautiful. And before we let you go, Bonnie, one of our sort of last questions that we're asking is what nature for all, or maybe what country for all, means for you.
I think it means to me that we're all in this together, and I guess if we all treat it right, then it'll be around forever, I feel.
Yep.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. Taking care of nature,
Oh.
so take care of ourselves at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great, Bonnie. Well, thank you for answering all those questions for us. We might pop you, just stay tuned, and we'll bring Greta out into our StreamYard live stream. And hi, Greta, how are you going?
Hi, Christina. I'm good, thank you.
That's excellent. Greta Morgan is also
Yeah.
an interpretation and information and education officer with Parks Victoria. So we've just been going through a few of the key themes with Hilda and Bonnie. So before we sort of get into those questions, I thought maybe you could just tell us a little bit about what you see as nature and what that means for you, and your personal connection to nature.
Well, nature is, when we need nature to survive, so, and country to survive. So it's all around us. It's there, no matter where you are, whether you're in country or cities or anywhere, it's all around us. So you hear it. It speaks to us every day. It could be through plants, could be through the animals, the birds flying overhead, but it's all around us. It's there every day.
Yep. I think sometimes we forget that in the urban cities and things that we live in, but it's important for people to kind of tune in to those small flashes of birds or butterflies that you might see, and the wind across your face, and just being open to that, I guess.
Yeah, possums in the park in Melbourne.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, lots of
See
them.
them everywhere, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So in the work that you do as an information interpretation and education officer with Parks Victoria, what's the sort of work that you do to help inspire other people to connect with country, or to educate people about your culture or about nature? What's the kind of work that you do?
We'd prefer to take people and students out on country, because if you speak to them in a sterile room, showing them, slideshows and that, it's not the same as being out on country and experiencing all of what it has to offer. So, you can see the culture, you can see the animals, you can see the impacts that are being made on country. And what do we need to do to ensure that it's not being impacted further, and just getting the people to see nature as a whole and not just individual. It's not just a tree, it's not just the water, but they all need to work together as one to be nature. So without one, you don't have the other.
Yeah, really important to show those relationships and connections and how we're all interrelated, even us people.
That's right, and that's our philosophy as Yorta people, is that you don't look at things individually, you look at things holistically.
Yep.
ensure.
Yep.
And not just Yorta Yorta as a First Nations people, but all of the First Nations across this land that we now call Australia, and even internationally. You know, our outlook on life and nature is very similar.
Yeah, as you say, that more holistic kind of view, and the systems kind of looking at as a whole big thing, and how we all impact on each other.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah. We spoke a little bit with Hilda and Bonnie about sort of the health side of being on country. What does that mean to you? Sort of healthy country, healthy mob, healthy parks, healthy people. That kind of idea that we've spoken about.
Yeah. You know, you get to use nature as a healing place. Some people pay thousands of dollars to be able to experience what we experience every day going out. If you get too overwhelmed in the workplace, just hop in the vehicle and head out bush and, you know, check out what, and that calms you down, brings you, brings the blood pressure levels back down. So,
Yeah, we need that a lot these days, don't we?
It does. And
Yeah.
it's, you know, and for everyone to be able to enjoy that. And that's why our parks are so important to be still in existence for that reason.
Yep. Yeah, protecting nature protects ourselves, and it's just this cycle that you know, keeps us all going.
That's right. You
Yeah.
know, you
Yeah.
go out there and you see a bunch of emus walking around and you get all excited and you can sit and watch them, you know, for a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or any animal, and it's, you know, very exciting to see them in their natural habitats and not being in cages or, you know, in yards locked away. So just to experience that, you know, eye contact with the animals out there.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, very sort of meaningful opportunities, I think, to connect with nature when you just sit still and listen and watch. Put down your phone, put down all your distractions, and just be. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah. Like I
Yes, sir.
I know, I was just going to say I did that with my grandchildren once. They're coming out of the town into, because I live in the country, and they were all on their phones and devices. And I drove to the bush, and when they looked up, what are we doing here? But you know, they didn't want to be there. But as soon as they put down their devices and started doing other things, they didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was well after dark before we left the bush to go back to home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just sort of putting that opportunity for kids to do that, you know, like creating those opportunities and just making sure they trust you a little bit. Like, let's do something a bit different, or let's get out of the city today and just go for a walk in the bush. And I always find it's amazing how kids might complain and they might not want to go, but as soon as they're there, they're different, you know, relaxed, and just start finding their own things to do and to look at and to follow. So
well, with one of our bush kinder groups, the teacher found that if she started the week with bush kinder, it calmed them for the rest of the week, and they settled in. Yeah, so she used to have it at the end of the week, but she said, no, I'll try the start.
At the start of the week.
Had a great impact on the group.
Yeah.
Which was
Wow, that's
fantastic.
excellent. Yeah, that's great. Maybe could you just tell us quickly, like what bushkinder is? I'm not sure if everyone tuned in from around the world might know what bushkinder is, or bush kindergarten.
Bush, it's just letting the children experience nature or the environment, get out into the bush. No structure around it. If they want to just walk through puddles, they can walk through puddles. If they want to climb a log, they can climb a log. It's just, getting them back to being, free and to experience they can walk barefoot if, and all of that. So, and it's just as I think Hilda mentioned, we just take them out, and once again, being out on country and not inside, doing things, and they can climb and jump and without being told to, no, you can't do that.
Yes.
But it's just getting them out and experiencing the environment without any real constraints to them. And a lot of the kinders, they pick their own little spot, and whether it's in walking distance or they sometimes come out to the Barmah National Park, and we'll take them down along the water's edge or walk in the bush with them. So it's just getting out and experiencing that.
Yeah, sounds wonderful. Beautiful way to spend your day, I'm sure. Yes, sorry, I was reading something.
I was just reading that too.
Yeah, we'll talk. We'll bring in the other our Hilda and Bonnie in a sec. But I just wanted to finish. Sorry. Just what nature for all means for you, Greta, or country for all, maybe in.
I guess I sort of touched on it before, and Bonnie and Hilda also made comment about, it's a place that everyone goes to, and instead of continually taking from the environment, how about we look at it and just see what we can give back to nature. I think for so long it's just somewhere people can go to let off steam and hoo-ha and that, but and do a lot of damage. But go out and just experience the beauty of the area and the calming and what it has to offer. So look after it so that it continues to survive, not just for one group but for all, so that it's here for the future.
Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely. Excellent. Well, I think we'll bring back Hilda and Bonnie now, and we'll just sort of finish up with a bit of a group discussion. One of the questions that came through is, given that we do have a global audience, there's sometimes people outside of Australia think of Australia as a dangerous place. We do have several venomous snakes and spiders and things like that. Do you think that the Bush Kindergarten program is a great way to start dispelling some of those fears around being in nature? I know I've been out with sort of families and kids before, and there's definitely a hesitancy about maybe picking up bugs and things like that. But I think probably you'll know, if we do it in a really safe way and we're also treating the animals with respect, that it's a pretty safe, fun thing to do. But have you had any experience with that, about how we approach that kind of fear of nature, or people thinking that there's so many dangers out there that can stop us from going out in nature?
I think we sort of had a couple of kinders that were cautious and along those lines, but we also have, lucky for us in our area, land care groups and other nature-based groups that work with those, the snakes, the
Mm.
dangers, what types, who the, you know, and how to act around them. Spiders the same. And so they can get those people to come into the kinder before they venture out.
Mm-hmm.
And then the children are aware. And most of our kinders, you know, they live on country, they live in the country, they live farms and rural, so majority of them are already aware of those types of dangers, I guess. Yeah.
Yep.
That's me. The girls might want to.
Bonnie or Hilda, do you have anything to add?
And I think that they learn about those creatures and insects and what are dangerous to us at that age. So when they're out, they know what to look for.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what I've used before, we can be alert and aware, but we don't have to be alarmed.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's.
Yeah. So I guess just to wrap up, we've only got a few more minutes. I guess if we just want to end on really understanding about the importance of the work that you do, we've talked a bit about health, healthy country, I guess educating young people in and helping them connect with country and all the wonderful creatures in nature. What do you think is sort of the really important outcome that you'd like to see from the work that you wonderful ladies do? Anyone can go. Greta?
Sorry.
You go, Hill.
I was just going to say that that it continues, you know, after we retire, and you know, getting young ones like Bonnie to be able to, you know, fill our footsteps, I suppose. Yeah.
Yep.
Or footprints. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was also just going to add that one of our rangers that we had to go on as team leader, he started as a summer ranger, but he was in one of our school groups. You know, this is going back a few years, but he came to one of our sessions out in the Barmah National Park at our Danya Centre, our interpretive centre out there, and then he came through the ranks as summer ranger and then furthered on to being a team leader, and now he's still in the rangering, but in another state. So yeah, and we've had quite a few. So yeah, just given you know, young ones the opportunity, and not only young ones, but you know, older people as well, the opportunity to just see further than the basics when you come into the bush. Yeah, if that means anything, but
Yeah.
and we do quite a bit with the elders also. Aged care facilities, we go out the bush with them and spend a couple of hours out with them.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Sounds all excellent. We do actually have a audience question, and Bonnie, it's someone wanting to know a little bit about the turtle monitoring work that you do.
Oh yes, we go out with Thanthrige Institute, and they do a lot of turtle monitoring. And one of our elders, our elders wanted to get numbers back on our turtles, because a long-necked turtle is our totem as Yorta Yorta people. So what a totem is for us is that we don't eat the totem, and we look after their habitat and look after the species of our totem. So for Yoruba people, that was one of our strategies, that we wanted to go out and monitor them and see after the floods and after drought, how they are going out in the nature.
Yeah. And how are the turtles going?
In the last couple of years, they've been getting a lot of pest animals, so like foxes and horses, or trample their nests. So they haven't been going so well. So our totem is the broad-shell turtle. And when we're out monitoring, we don't catch a lot of them, but we do catch a lot of common long-necked turtles. So we have 3 species. We have a common long-necked turtle, a broad-shell turtle, and also a Murray River turtle, which is a short neck. And yeah, usually we catch a lot of common long neck and short neck turtles. But yeah, we haven't been catching a lot of broadshell, which is sad. But hopefully, I think the last report last year was one we caught, maybe.
Yeah, right.
Which isn't good at all.
No. And you're going to continue that monitoring?
Yeah, hopefully they're out this month. Because of the floods, they haven't been able to get back out, and we haven't had our park open to them yet. So hopefully the researchers can come back out maybe this month in March, or next month in March.
Yeah, excellent.
And us as Yoda Rangers, we get to go out with them and have the privilege to work along them and do the work as well. So that's pretty fun.
Excellent. Yep.
Yeah.
Great partnership there.
Yeah.
Excellent. Oh, well, I think that's taken us up to our 2 o'clock, and I'm sure you're all busy ladies with lots to do. So I, on behalf of Nature for All, would love to say a big thank you to you all. I really appreciate your time and your stories, and as well as the work that you're doing to educate and inform and create that awareness around caring for country, healthy people, healthy mobs. So thank you so much for all your time, and I hope to maybe see you around in Victoria sometime. But really lovely to have you as part of the program today, ladies. So
thank you, Christina.
Very much.
Thanks, Christina.
Thank you.
No worries. Thank you. Okay, so I think we have our next guest hopefully on the line, Jose.
No, unfortunately not. So there's a couple of things we can do, and I think what I'd like to do is actually talk to you a little bit.
Sure.
Because you've introduced yourself a little bit, but I think you know it's always nice to know who's participating, and I've got a couple of questions.
For sure.
And I mean, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your fondest memories as a child, or when was it specifically that you said, you know what, nature, this is it for me, like this is, I want to be doing this type of work, and I think that'd be kind of interesting to hear.
Well, when I look back on it, I have to say a huge part of my childhood was spent in nature. We as a family, we actually moved to Vanuatu, Port Vila, Vanuatu, a little island in the Pacific, for my dad's work. And I was around the age of 8, which is a very formative time, I think, in your childhood. And there was no TV, so we would have the odd video or something like that. But all I remember is always being outside, playing with friends or brothers and sister, just always being down the beach. And so just having those really immersive experiences in nature, I think probably led me to wanting to work in some way, shape or form in the natural world. But I also think having my mum as almost, I guess you could say, a nature mentor. She was a huge animal advocate, always trying to donate money to animal causes, and just absolutely adored her pets. We thought she kind of loved them more than us half the time, but just had a huge love of animals. And I think those sort of having that sort of elder in my life that, you know, showed me and modeled me how to care for animals and nature, and then having those really formative and experiential times in nature as a young kid. I think those two things together, yeah, I think that's pretty much why I ended up, becoming first a zoologist and then moving more into the people and nature world.
Nice. You mentioned, and I don't know how heavily involved you're in this, but you mentioned the Parks Victoria Nature Festival. Are you able to talk a little bit about what that is,
Yeah,
and what that
absolutely.
entails, and when is it specifically?
Yeah. So the Nature Festival, the Victoria Nature Festival is I'm the coordinator. So
Oh,
I so we've got a few bits and pieces up on your website as well that
yeah.
happened in last year's festival. So it's usually held for a couple of weeks in the sort of September period. So that's our spring time in Victoria. And it's really a collaborative, co-designed, co-created festival. So we work closely with Parks Victoria, who are one of our delivery partners. We have lots of other partners as well that we work for, such as Royal Botanic Gardens in Victoria. We work with Trust for Nature, Sustainability Victoria, who work a lot in the education space. We work with a not-for-profit group called Remember the Wild. We work with our Environment Protection Agency in Victoria. And we also have a group called Catchment Management Authorities. So they really work in managing waterways and catchments throughout Victoria. And also Phillip Island Nature Park, where if you anytime you want to jump online, you can actually watch the little penguins do their emergence out of the sea and waddle their way up to the burrows. So Phillip Island Nature Parks do a whole heap of work down on Phillip Island, but the penguins are definitely their kind of key draw card. So yeah, together we've had 3 nature festivals so far, and we work together, and all our partners that I just mentioned create content and do videos, hold events such as Junior Rangers, which Bonnie was talking about. You know, things at the zoos, nature play at the zoos, Botanic Gardens put lots of different things on, like botany boot camp. There's a whole range of things that we do in person and virtually as well. So yeah, we're hoping we can have another festival later in this year. So I'm learning a lot about the sort of global take that you guys have done, and it's definitely an opportunity for us to bring people together in Victoria with a Victoria focus, obviously, but trying to really encourage how people can value nature and how people can really establish those beautiful relationships with nature, which I think Hilda, Bonnie, and Greta just talked about so lovely before. And then also finding ways that people can act for nature. So what are the ways people can volunteer? Can they do citizen science? Perhaps it's some wildlife gardening that they can do to attract wildlife into their gardens. How we can share stories like this. And also, you know, any other messages for advocating for nature's care is really those center kind of themes of the festival.
Yeah, I was lucky to, you mentioned the penguins, because we were in Australia, my family and I, a few years ago, and we did go to see the penguins come in at dusk, and they're one of the funniest things as they waddle up the beach, and I remember the ones who've eaten so much that they can barely walk, and they're climbing up the hill. They just kind of have to like plop down and just kind of, okay, I need a rest before they go back.
Need a break before I get up the hill.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's always stuck with me. And I'm glad, you know, like your experiences as a child, I think, you know, in nature, I think they do shape us, right? In terms of where we want to go. And I think that's important. You talk a little bit about, you know, the nature festival, and the opportunities that exist. What are some of the specific, you know, you've done it for 3 years. Are there specific events in the festival that really strike, you know, that you know, that are really key in terms of like getting people out and connecting with that nature?
I think what we found, the first 2 years were all online for COVID reasons. So I'll just, like, even though it was online, we did get a lot of feedback that it was still a great opportunity to connect with nature and to see what was going on And it was like this break, even though we were all online a lot, but it was a nice break to look at different content about nature at that time. But then last year, I guess when we were able to do in-person events, I think what stood out for us is that, like we were sort of talking with Bonnie and Hilda and Greta about where nature is and how it's actually all around us all the time. And so I think finding those opportunities to create, I guess, experiences in nature, but adding them with something else. So maybe it's spending time with family, or it's a social interaction, or it's doing something that's contributing to managing biodiversity or nature. So maybe it's a citizen science-based activity where people feel that they're actually doing something good and helping out. So I think sort of pairing nature with other things like the social family interactions, and also not being too hung up on, you know, how we view nature. Like it could be just that you're outside, you're in a sort of grassy area with some trees, but you know, you've got that element of people, nature, and it's all sort of integrated together. It doesn't always have to be sort of I guess the areas that are far away, like the forests and the bushlands and things like that. It can very much be in urban areas, and we can find those opportunities to connect with nature and each other.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really cool. We've got a couple of different people coming in. I'm wondering, what I'm wondering is if we can get Ikbal come in for the next 20 minutes, maybe he can share his story. Then we'll have Ruchi come in at the 10:30 mark when she's scheduled. I'm wondering if that's kind of what we end up doing here. And so what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to bring Ikbal in, and he can share his connection and story about nature. I'm going to step away, have the conversation, and then we'll bring Ruchi around 10:30, and then continue from there if that's all right. Christina, thank you so much. I'm going to step away, and let's bring Ikbal in.
Hello, Ikbal. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. Hi, Christina.
Good, thank you. Have I said your name correct, Ikbal?
Yeah, you're correct.
Oh, good. Excellent.
I really apologize for the time differences. I thought I still have a couple hours for this.
Yeah, that's okay.
But I just checked the email. Yeah, sorry for that.
That's all right. So excellent to have you here. You're coming from, I'm just trying to read where you're coming from.
Komodo National Park, Indonesia.
Indonesia. Excellent. Great. So maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself and the work that you do, so we can just get to know who you are. Because I feel like I've just been talking about myself for the last 10 minutes.
That's okay. So, hi everyone. My name is Ikbal. I'm a forest ecosystem manager in Komodo National Park. I've been working here for almost 8 years now. All of my work basically focusing on wildlife monitoring, environmental education, and ecotourism services. So it's pretty much all over the place. So as a park ranger, you have to do many things in a park, but basically that is the thing that I'm focusing on.
Yeah, excellent. So maybe we'll go into this idea of nature and what nature means to you, where you see nature, where is nature for you, what is nature, and also what your personal connection to nature is.
See, well, it is interesting question, Christina, because I think I grew up from a place that is surrounded by a national park. I can really think to not experiencing or spending my time only in the house. So basically, I always go outside and consider nature as my playground, I guess. So every time I see a forest, every time I see a beautiful landscape full of wildlife, I feel so excited, so relaxed, and happy. So it is very important personally to me.
Yeah. Yep. And how do you feel like from your childhood and now, like how do you connect with nature now? What do you see as that way of
It is.
connecting?
It is. I would say it is a little bit change, because as a child, I would say, as a youth growing up in a rural area surrounded by forests, I consider nature as a playground. But now, working as a
Mm,
park ranger, I consider nature, especially forests, as something more than that. I always
mm,
wonder to what extent that forests can provide benefits to the people, so not only providing playgrounds and only providing, I would say, wildlife habitat, but also how does this forest is providing economic benefits for the people. Forest is also providing more services or providing easier access to the community in the surrounding area. So that is the
mm,
thing I'm thinking now. That's what I am initiating, a project called Ranger Goes to School, which is
mhm,
basically uh, trying to waking up the senior park ranger, waking up the government official working in the national park system, that there are so many community, like local community, youth, children, living
mm,
next to national park, but they don't have these strong connections as me when I was back in
mm,
the childhood. So I try to make the park ranger go outside and see on the window, like there are open world, and then we are
yeah,
not working only for the wildlife, but also
mm,
we have to work together with the people, especially with the students, because they are the
mm,
future generations
yep,
of the forest steward.
mm,
So basically, yeah, I initiated that program, Ranger Goes to School, last year with my colleague,
yep,
20 individuals of my colleague working for that project.
yeah, right. Excellent. So, what are the sort of things then in your work that you do to really, I don't know, I guess it's a little bit like I work a bit in behavior change. So it sounds like you're having to inspire people, connect people, and educate people in being forest stewards that don't have that background that perhaps you and I have, that have those really immersive childhood experiences and have that really deep connection with nature. How do you yeah, is it just through talking? Is it through walking tours? Like, what are the sort of things that you do to help inspire those sorts of people to get on board with nature and the work that you're trying to do?
Hmm. I think the first best word is inclusive. I
Mm,
think the best thing and the best action is to be inclusive. So
mhm,
you have to work together with every person that is available for you. So if you
mm,
found someone who is working in the NGO, or you found someone working in other government bodies different than you, and they have this I would say spirit, motivation, concern, same concern of environment, I would bring them together. So that's
mm,
why I'm bringing them into the project, Ranger Goes to School project, and
yep,
then with them together make some direct action. So
mhm,
basically going to school and then working, because within the group there are also media people, so like journalists, things like that. So by using their I would say um, specialty, working profession wise, all of our direct project, all of our direct activity within the school is being published in social
mm,
media. So people can inspire, people can know about the project,
mm,
and eventually they will be interested to participate to the project in the coming weeks. I
yep,
got so many people from almost every background in this region are willing to participate in the project, just because they have the same concern, the same interest to make the students, to make the youth are more aware of the environment, and
mhm,
then they somehow help us to grow the connection, to grow more love for the national park, like really growing love, like sense of love from the
mm,
students
yep,
into the national park. How to make the students love national park even more.
yep.
So
Yeah, I
that's
think that's a yeah.
sorry.
I think no, I was just gonna say, like touching on the idea of love, like That's what we're here. We're in a love fest, but often, I think in the past we've always sort of gone down the path of educate, educate, just give them more information, and that will change their mind. But I think we're really learning about how important emotion is in having that feeling and relationship and connection with nature. So yeah, I was just writing down notes of the things that you were saying, because that's just really awesome work. So really, really cool. And
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I think
think
go, sorry.
if I allowed to add something on that, I
Yeah,
think
go.
this because you brought up about the behavior change. This Ranger Goes to School program is actually trying to not only adding knowledge among the students, but also we are trying to change the students' attitude and behavior
Mm,
towards nature, towards a national
mhm,
park, for instance.
mm,
So really having a high concern, I would say, about their understanding, their connections to national park, which is pretty much not uh, fulfilling our expectation. So they don't consider a national park, which is located next to their doorhouse, is something
mm,
as important as we think. So that is the biggest motivation that uh, we do, trying to make and change their attitude into
mm,
loving the environment even more, and trying to help them finding the true meaning of a national park since early like age like this, high school
yeah.
students for instance.
Mm,
So it's very important
yeah.
as well.
Yeah, very important. And I think it's a really interesting age group perhaps to work with, because I've worked with really young kids, and that's all about fun and love and all that sort of thing. And when I have in sort of a minimal amounts worked with sort of older teenage kids, sometimes it's all a bit too cool for school, and how do you engage that audience that have many competing priorities, social life and schoolwork, and maybe they're starting their own jobs and things like that. So um, yeah, how do you find how engaging that kind of age group?
Okay, so since my target, I would say, project target is basically high school students,
Mm,
vocational high school students. So after they graduated, they were expected to work as a readily
mm,
work.
mm-hmm,
So working with them in this province, which is in Indonesia, this province is one of the, I would say, poorest province
uh-huh, yeah,
within Indonesia. And then working with high school students in this unique province is giving me a different challenge compared to the other, okay, compared to the
uh,
other area. And I basically combining the technology, so using so many apps, so many applications, so many games, bringing them outside. So not teaching
mm,
them one way in classroom, but bringing them outside and doing so many activity, and then bringing
yep,
them to some field work, field visit to somewhere. So that's by doing that, then they understand the theory and then the practice, and then at the end of the day, we try to make them think like how do you connect the theory between the practice by seeing the field
mm,
on your own, and
yep,
then somehow it helps. Some of them, I would say, most of them, I would say, have changed. They tend to be more active. They'll have so many thoughts about national park, about futuristic actions that they can
mm,
do in the future. So hearing their ideas and their thoughts of doing something with the national park and for the national park is giving me a personal satisfaction. So I'm
yeah,
very happy with that.
yep. That's excellent. I think I've just got a couple more questions. Before we get to the what nature for all means to you, one of the conversations we were having with our previous guests was around the health benefits of being in nature. Is that part of your thinking and the way that you approach it with teenagers? Like, I'm not sure what you experienced during the COVID-19 pandemic, that it's not really ended, it's still going. But in Victoria, we had to go into lockdown, and we were pretty much trapped at home. We couldn't go more than 5 kilometers out of where we live. So we were really kind of, insular, and had to had to survive, I guess, you know, in very different circumstances. So, and there's been a lot of like mental health kind of, you know, I guess negative mental health impacts coming out across, you know, our state and Australia. Do you, and one of the things that we like to talk about is how nature can be such a healing place to go to. Do you find that that's something that's maybe sticking out or important for the work that you're doing in the ranger program?
Yes, definitely. I think healing force is something that is increasing nowadays.
Mm,
It's become something trending in Indonesia.
mm,
So basically,
mm,
people go outside into the forest just to be chill. They do
yeah.
nothing. They just do this
Mm, mm,
meditation. They somehow, I don't know what they are thinking, but they seem to think a lot.
yeah.
So basically, providing them some tranquility within that area. And I think that is important for them and for us too, mentally, health
Mm,
mentally. And I see that as some attraction and activity that park rangers need to highlight on. So how do we
mm,
provide some space for doing that? How do we provide security while they are doing that? They are safe from direct encounter with the wildlife and thing and so forth.
mm,
So really providing space and opportunity for that kind of motivation, I would say, and
yeah.
that is important.
Yep. Excellent. All right, so we're going to end in the next few minutes, but I thought we'd talk a little bit about what Nature for All means to you. So either you personally or the work that you do. Um, yeah, if we can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think it is very explicit. So nature is for all. So it's not
Yeah,
exclusive for a group of
yeah.
people. So it is for students, it is for park rangers, it is for government officials, NGO officers, it's for everyone. So
Mm,
do not ever think that nature is only for a group of people, but it's for
mm,
all of us. Then we have to think what kind of contribution that we can provide to the nature that providing benefits for
mm.
us. By doing that, I believe the nature would be a better place, would be sustainable, and we will be happy with that.
Yep. And one of the other things I just wanted to talk about lastly with the work that you do, what do you see sort of with your program happening in the future? Like years and years to come, do you want it still to be going? And what are the outcomes, I guess, that you're hoping to achieve through the program in sort of the
Mhm,
really long term?
mhm. So this is I'm beginning my second batch. So I hope that this project is will be continuing every year, and then I really
Hmm.
hope that by teaching students more than 500 students every year, there will be students interested into becoming a park ranger in the future.
Hmm.
So I know
Yeah.
that I have a guarantee and assurance that in the future there will be steward, there will be park rangers coming from the original locations of the park, not only coming from the people
Mm,
outside, but from the people within. And they have this strong and good knowledge of how to manage in the national park. And I know that they are the person, like they are the group.
yeah.
So I really hope that they will be inspired by me and my team coming to the schools. But at the end of the day, they will be the one who is replacing me and taking care of this forest.
Mm, yeah. That's excellent. That's a really great long-term impact, hopefully, of the work that you're doing. So that's really excellent. Um, is there anything else you wanted to add in terms of the Nature for All festival, the Love Fest? Any childhood experiences that really stood out for you
Mhm.
when you were younger in nature? A story that you might want to tell?
Uh, I have so many stories
Yeah.
about nature, but I don't have the most iconic story. I was chased by Komodo dragon previously back
Oh.
then, but I don't want other people to be chased by a dragon when they're visiting
No.
Komodo National park. But I think for this event, it is very important that we finally meet online. We can hear stories from different part of the world, and whatever you are, rangers, academician, professors, NGO officers, we can be on the same table talking about the same thing, and we have the same vision. How do we envision forest in the future, and basically telling the future generations on what we did and what they're supposed to be. I think this event is very important and needs to be sustainable, be established, I guess. I think that's all, Christina. And thank you.
No, that's excellent. Thank you so much. It's so nice to meet someone overseas and speak with you and hear about the wonderful work you're doing. I'm writing notes going, oh, I like all this. This is all awesome. So thank you so much. I think we're going to flick over to our next guest, but thank you, Ikbal, for joining
Thank you
us
so much.
today.
Really
And
apologize for the time differences.
Oh, good.
Thanks,
I was
Ikbal.
like that. I was
It's
already online at 9 o'clock this morning.
yeah,
So
it's my sincerest apologies. I can't apparently read a map and figure out where time zones go from one plus and one minus. So my apologies. I will go back. Perfect. All right, I'm gonna disappear again and let Christina introduce our next guest. Thank you so much, Ikbal.
Thanks, Ikbal. Bye. Okay, so we have Ruchi Rai. She's a biology and environment science educator in India. So I might actually just hand straight over to you, Ruchi, and am I saying your name right? Ruchi?
Yeah. Yes,
Ruchi?
Christina.
Excellent. So welcome. And perhaps please introduce yourself and a little bit about the work that you do.
So a very good morning to everyone. It's morning here in India right now. I believe you people must be experiencing evening. So
it's afternoon in Australia. It's about 2:30 in the afternoon.
Okay, thank you. So I'm Ruchi Rai, and I've been working as a biology and environmental science educator for last almost 17 to 18 years. And presently I'm working with Sanskriti, the Gurukul. It's a school in Guwahati, Assam. So right now I am in Assam, and I have been working in this particular organization for last 8 years. And as far as my work is concerned, I'm very passionate about, about environment. And I have been closely working with the age group of, say, initially I started working with the teenagers. It was right from 13 to 17 years of age. And then slowly, I have started working with the younger group. And I'm trying my best that my students can, connect with the environment, their surroundings, and they can come up as more responsible and aware citizens.
Oh, excellent. Sounds like amazing work, Ruchi. So the first question I wanted to talk to you about was this idea of nature. What is nature to you? Like, where is it? Where does it exist? And then what is your connection to nature? Your personal connection.
Christina, if I look into nature is everywhere in my surrounding. It's basically, it starts from your home and it expands to the outside world. Or we can say it starts from the outside world and then it comes back inside your home. So each and every individual is in one or the other way connected with it. And for me, I have been connected with nature since my childhood. Although I realized that that connection when I actually started moving out, because I spent my childhood in Delhi. Delhi is a metropolitan city, and it's an urban area, and quite I would say highly populated and lots of vehicles. Many people know about it as one of the polluted city in India. And slowly, right from my school time, I started venturing into the outskirts, and that was my connection with nature, that how I built that connection.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we've talked a lot about how nature is everywhere. That's a really common theme that's coming through, that it doesn't have to be the forests, the bushland, or that sort of thing far away, that it can be, yeah, like you say, in the home, but also in our urban areas, where you can just, if you tune in and just notice and pay attention, that nature is really around us all the time. So yeah, definitely a common theme coming through a lot for me today, talking to people. So with the work that you do as a National Geographic educator, and I know you've organised several sort of citizen science programs with your students, I'm really keen to know a little bit more of the detail about how you inspire those students and how you educate them and how you help them connect with nature through the programs that you run.
Sure. If you may allow, can I present something?
Oh, that would
Christina?
be great.
Okay.
I
So,
think Jose will help us if there's any technical issues, but you should just be able to share,
sure.
I think.
Yeah, there should be a present button at the bottom, and then just pick share window, and then it should pop up, and then I can share it directly into the screen.
Okay, so I have to just share a window. It's showing share screen.
Oh, you don't have any different options? Yeah, share screen, sorry, and then it'll open up a window, and then share a window.
Okay.
And then just find the window that you need, and it should work.
Yeah. Is my screen visible to you?
It's about to be, I think. Yeah, if you just make it a bit. Yep. It's just loading. Yep, that's it.
Yeah. So as you were asking me, Christina, like what was my connect with nature and when did it happen? So it was during my school time. I don't know whether these images are clearly visible to you or not, but as they are very, very old, my childhood, when I actually started going out with my friends on various tracks, and it was in year 1995 when I did my first trek to Baragarh Sach Pass. And as I started, teaching in the school and being a biology educator, I first started my career as a biology educator. And as a biology educator, when I used to teach in the classroom, I was really surprised at times when my students were unable to relate with certain things. I really felt that there was a lack of observation skill in the younger generation. They were not that observant about the things which were there in their surrounding. As a very simple aspect of differentiating between a monocot or a dicot plant, they always used to give me the differences based on the textbooks. Like, okay, it will have two cotyledons. This will have the seed will be having a single cotyledon. But when I used to ask them, okay, fine, if you are there in the garden or you are outside, how you will differentiate between them? And it was difficult for them to relate. They were not observant enough. And that was the time actually when I started looking into making my biology classes more of experiential based classes where they can go out, they can experience, they can observe the things and relate with the concepts. And as when I came down to Guwahati and I joined Sanskriti, the Gurukul, this organization provided me with an opportunity to start up with the Department of Environmental Science. So I started this department in 2016. And since then, I started working with the students and I started developing the curiosity and their creativity. And that's how the journey started. So initially, we collaborated with certain organizations. So I started looking for the environmental organizations which were there in the local area. And we collaborated with few organizations and we started some citizen science programs, which provided a lot of scope for my students because they got a great exposure. They moved out on the streets. Guwahati is a place where initially there is a particular area where there is a roosting site for the fruit bats, and the research paper stated that we used to find around 3,000 to 4,000 bats, quite some years back. But recently it was found that those population of bats was decreasing, and it had gone down to just 500 to 600. So considering that, we just started the citizen science program where we collaborated with Wild Roots, and we moved out on the streets near the roosting site, generating awareness about bats. And our students, they prepared some origami bats, and they distributed the snippets of information about the bats, and they generated a awareness program over there.
Yeah.
And then we further extended our program, and we started looking for bats in Meghalaya. Meghalaya is nearby. So we were aware that, there were these great evening bats which were found in the Mausamai caves over there. So we thought of exploring these caves in Meghalaya. So we went to look out for these bats. And we explored both the caves, the Mausamai caves and the Lumshina caves. Lumshina caves has lots of fossils also. So my students got an exposure of, actually looking at the fossils and what they are. Because so far they were only studying in the books. And there we were very disappointed to see that there were times when it was reported in certain books that as soon as you enter the Mausamai cave, you have to be very careful while walking through it because bats are there and it's in large numbers. But we could not find a single bat over there, and we were very, very disappointed. And then we could relate it with the problem that was there. There was a lot of hill cutting and mining activities which were going in that particular area. And that actually resulted in, maybe the site has changed, the bats were no more there. And whereas there were still some books which were mentioning that if you want to see great evening bat, you must visit Mausamai cave. So that was an eye-opener for my students, and they really felt connected with it. And further, what I thought that, see, it was one side we were exploring, but on the other side, it was equally important for my students to be more aware of what is happening in the field of environmental science. And what I felt was it's important that I bring the local resources to school so that my students get an opportunity to interact with them. And looking into that, I started, organizing some workshops for my students with Miss Purnima Devi. She is the Whitley Award winner. And then Mr. Udayan Thakur. He's a very well-known wildlife photographer. So we conducted some photography workshops. We conducted some awareness workshops for my students. And I was looking forward that when my kids will start going into fields, then they should be very well aware of how to document their findings. And photography was one of the important, tool for documentation. So I was planning out the things accordingly, and then we moved ahead and we started exploring the forest near our area. So this is Amsung Wildlife Sanctuary. It's just nearby, just around 50 kilometers from Guwahati. And we started exploring the forest, and we started conducting regular, birding trips for the students, where they can go. They will be exploring different tools for identification. They were introduced to the concept of how important it is to note down the GPS coordinates. And that's how the journey was just continuing. And we started exploring the areas outside Guwahati. And this is when we went for the Hornbill Nest Study to Pake Tiger Reserve. It's there in Arunachal Pradesh. So we started exploring the neighboring states, and we started providing that exposure to our students, where they were meeting the other people and the other conservationists, researchers, those who were working in this particular field, which definitely I feel has motivated my students to move ahead and to sincerely take up the subject as a subject also and become more responsible towards their surrounding environment. So there they got a very, very good exposure about, camera trapping, and then 360-degree camera virtual reality films which were made on Paki Tiger Reserve. And they got an exposure to live with the local community. They learned about the local fencing art over there. They tried to construct a fence for the local community over there. And my students, they started, representing their learning in the form of artwork. They started designing posters. They started writing poems, and that was something, a very satisfying for me, I would say, because this is where actually the learning was taking place. The learning is somewhat beyond the textbooks, and that was the idea, and that really started happening at that time. And students met the local community. If you will see on the right hand side in this particular picture, the local person is showing a small, a sword kind of thing that they use, they generally carry. But the most shocking thing for my students was that he had made the cover out of the tail of a monkey. So these areas here, we have lots of local tribes residing in the northeast region of India. And the local tribes, they have their own traditional practices. So kids were a little, taken aback that, he has hunted for something. But then slowly and slowly, we started exploring the aspect of that, how the culture and tradition is actually playing a very, very important role in conservation. This was the area where they met people, those who were actually hunters. They were hunting hornbills because in Arunachal, they generally prepare a headgear made out of the beak of the hornbill. And for that, they used to hunt it quite often. But those people, they have now converted into conservationists, and they are employed as forest guards, and they are doing commendable job over there in protecting the wildlife. So this was something very, very, I will say, motivating for my students. And if you see that the workshops that we conducted earlier with the students has really paid off well, because all these photographs that you can see on the screen right now were clicked by my students themselves.
Wow.
So they started, exploring all the other domains. And they also went out. We conducted a workshop for a local school, regional school out there. And we met the local community members, those who have been working in the sector of conservation. It's named as the Ghora Abhe Society. It's a local society which comprises of local people, those who have been working in the field of conservation. We also expanded further, and we tried to understand the concept of captive breeding. We collaborated with the Bombay Natural History Society, BNHS, their captive breeding center over here in Guwahati. And because in my childhood, I would share with you, Christina, in Delhi, I used to see, huge number of vultures in particular regions. But over a period of time, suddenly the vultures vanished. And they came in the list of endangered species. And that was really concerning, that what has happened, what went wrong. And we pick up this project and we started exploring that thing. And what we found that in our areas over here, the major reason was the diclofenac that was given to the cattle. And the vultures, those who were feeding on it, being the scavengers, their kidneys were being destroyed because of the effect of that particular medicine. And hence, the population has declined to a large scale. But it was really, really, eye-opening for us when we visited this particular center, and we realized that how difficult it is for even such big organizations to carry out a conservation program if the local community is not standing by them. And how wonderfully these people, they have been connecting with the local community. And they have started a small art school for the local students local kids of that village, because villagers were very much against conservation of vultures, as they had this notion that they are bad omen. So they never, wanted to conserve vultures in their region. But then with generating awareness among the younger generation has really helped this particular organization to bring up this concept of captive breeding in this particular area. And we were amazed to see that these small kids, those who were coming for art school in this particular center, they have started painting vultures on the walls. In Assam, if you see this symbol which has been drawn over here where this girl is pointing to, it's known as a horai. And it has a great respect in Assamese tradition and culture. But we were amazed to see that these kids have started drawing vultures and other organisms which they can see in their surrounding on their walls. So they were connecting with nature beautifully. And my kids, after realizing that how difficult it is for such organization to carry forward the conservation program, they again further started, exploring this, did their own research, and they came up with a wonderful street play, a Nukkar Natak. And they went back to the village and they presented it. And we have been supporting BNHS since then. And as and when required, we do go there and we perform over there for the local public. And besides that, if you can see, my kids, they started designing posters. And this particular poster, it shows a scene from Ramayana, where when Ravan, he tried to take away Sita, there was a bird, Jatayu, who tried to protect Sita. And he was killed by Ravana. And in Indian culture, these, mythological stories, they have a great importance. They are part of our culture and tradition. So the kids, they started, realizing that thing, and they presented this poster to the local public, stating that, see, on one side, you are worshipping Jatayu, you are worshipping a vulture. On the other side, you say that it brings bad omen to you. So, that's how we started building the connections. And it really helped in taking forward the conservation program over there. And further, my kids, they started designing, comics. And I'm really happy to share with you that Aranyak, one more environmental-based organization, has supported our students. And they have published the comics which have been designed by our students so far. So this is how, Christina, we have been trying our best, to, generate awareness among the younger generation. And I'm very, very hopeful because this generation is taking it forward like anything. They are much more connected. They are moving ahead. We have been trying not only to explore the local areas and the states around us, but we have also extended to the neighboring countries. My kids were so amazed to know that Bhutan is one of the carbon negative country, and they really wanted to know that how they have been, what they are doing actually, and how they have achieved this status in the world. And so we went to Bhutan. We collaborated with Royal Thimphu College. We attended their environmental science classes. We explored their laboratories. We learned about the waste management techniques that is being used in Bhutan. And, our kids, they came back, with new ideas and looking forward to implement those ideas. But somewhere, Christina, I always felt that it was still restricted to a certain number of students, those who were opting for environmental science. So I was always looking forward to, expand this thing across and involve larger number of students into this thought process of conservation of environment. And this was the time when we decided that we will bring changes in our curriculum. And I'm really, really, happy to share with you that in this school, we have worked on our curriculum and we have ensured that each and every grade is having a project for 3 to 4 months in which they are completely involved involved, and they are exploring the world around them from different perspectives. So for grade 6, for last 3 years, we have been running a program that is known as Are You Going to Eat That? And under this program, our students are being exploring the life of a farmer. They are meeting the local farmers. They are growing their own crop. They go to the agricultural field. They work with the farmers. And this project continues for 3 to 4 months. And during this project, they learn about geography. They learn about the soil texture. They understand about chemistry. They explore the concept of how important it is to maintain the pH of the soil to grow a particular crop. They explore about the agricultural cycle. They have explored the local simple machines which are used by the farmers in the agricultural sector. And then they have also explored like how important it is for small governing bodies, like we have panchayats, those who govern the villages, right? So what is the role of the governing body in the village to regulate agriculture? And they have also explored that what is the impact of use of agrochemicals, and thus they are trying to grow organic crop year after year. So this year also we have sown the seeds for potato. And in our first, the first cycle when we did, we were able to grow 500 kg of potato. And
Wow.
this year again, we have sown the seeds. Our kids are working, and we will be soon harvesting our crop. And another part of our curriculum is a new project that we have launched for last 2 years, and that's known as Paper Out of Paper. And this is something, Christina, I would like to share with you that as a school where there are 1,400 students studying, and right from grade 6, we have almost 10 subjects. So they use a lot of notebooks year after year. And by the end of the session, all those notebooks are nothing but waste, because they have already filled those notebooks. They are not going to use those notebooks again. So what we started in our school, that we asked the students to bring back those notebooks and submit in the school, the used notebooks. And with those used notebooks, we started creating our own handmade paper. So this particular project is not only done by the senior students, but we have incorporated this project right from grade 1. Then again, the grade 3 students are working on it. Then again, the grade 5 students work on it. Then again, the grade 8, then 9. So basically, the whole school is involved in this work. And we are looking forward to, making more and more handmade paper over a period of time. And we have started utilizing this handmade paper on a large scale. This year, our annual day celebration, we wrapped the gifts which were given to the guests in this handmade paper, which was made by our students. And further, this is something very close to my heart, Christina, because I believe that I alone cannot bring the change. I need to build my team. Over these years, I have brought other educators along with me, and they have been really supportive in taking up these projects. The whole team of Sanskriti, the Gurukul, is thinking in one particular direction, and that is sustainability. And this year, what we have started is that we have started training the educators from other parts of the state. We have been inviting them to come to our school, attend the sessions with us, attend our workshops, be there with us, and learn how to design these expeditions so that we can further build the connections. So that's what I have been doing, Christina.
Wow. That is just amazing, Ruchi. You're just doing smashing work with citizen science and getting young people involved. I am so super impressed. And I was just writing down some notes as you were talking, but I think some of the things that stood out to me was the kind of empowerment that you're giving to young people. You know, when we talk about environmental loss, it can get a bit doom and gloom, but you're giving the young people all these different tools and opportunities to combat those sort of, you know, negative feelings and doing something really positive and that contributes hugely and really meaningfully to biodiversity and nature and conservation. So yay you, it's just awesome work. And the fact that you're bringing more people involved and having this sort of collective impact, that what we talk about in Australia, collective impact, you know, and talked around the world, is just awesome. So that is a whole lot of work.
Thank you.
And yeah, it's awesome. So I think we've got like one or two more minutes. I think the very last question we did want to ask, from your experience and your own personal perspective, what does nature for all mean to you?
So, Christina, if I look at nature for all, I believe that nature is there for all of us, but at the same time, all of us should also be available for the nature, right? It's very, very important that we think in that way because our existence, our survival is depending on it. And when we are looking into nature, I'm not only looking into the environmental aspect, but I'm also looking into the social aspect. It plays a very, very important role to, bring up the society. I have seen changes in attitude and changes in behavior among my students when they have gone out in nature. They have learned that how nature, everything is surviving in harmony. You know, everything is supportive. The ecosystem is existing because of that interdependence, and that thought is, developing in their character, where they have realized that they are also interdependent on each other. So it brings a lot of harmony in the society, in the social setup. And that's what, nature means to me.
Yeah.
Where
That's
everyone collaborates and they look forward and, they grow together.
Yeah. Working together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. That's amazing work. Thank you so much for sharing all your beautiful photos and the lovely work that you're doing in your stories. It's been fantastic to talk with you today. So nice to meet someone in India. It's really exciting. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you
And
so much.
yeah, I think we're going to bring Amali.
Thanks, Ruchi.
in
Yes,
now.
I'm going to
Thank
step
you.
out. It's actually nice to finally meet you because we've talked by email over the last couple of years, and so I'm glad to hear your story. So thank you so much. I'm going to go back in the background. I'm going to remove Ruchi, and we can keep.
Yeah.
Yep. Thanks, Ruchi.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Okay, so we're going to bring Amali in. I can see she's here via audio. Can you hear me, Amali? Oh, here she is. Hello.
Yes. Hello. Am I audible?
You are audible?
You can
If
hear
I can
me.
even say the word, I can hear you. Yeah, let's just say that.
Great.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. You're my last interview today, so I've just had such an awesome time talking to all these wonderful people. So it's lovely to have you on the line as well, Amali, and you're coming from Sri Lanka. I could, read out your bio, but I think I always love to hear from you, where you live, what part of the Sri Lanka, what part of the country are you coming from, and also what your job is. And then we can jump into a few more questions.
Sure. May I start with sharing my screen?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great.
I think there's a present button down the bottom.
Okay. Yeah. Is it working?
It might do. It's starting to. Yes. So if you just put on present view and then.
Can you see the screen?
I can see it. Can you put it on the little presenter mode if you press that little button down the bottom in the PowerPoint?
Yeah.
You might have done it. Sometimes it takes just a few seconds to load up.
Yeah, I think.
In presenter mode. I mean, I can see it, but we might try and get it a bit bigger.
Yeah. Do you see
Yeah.
the little
Jose
button at the bottom right, just below the water photo? There's a little presenter button. Usually that's all you
Um,
need.
yeah, I can see it says stop sharing and
Oh, strange. Oh, I wonder if you shared, if it opened up into, no, try sharing
uh,
again.
okay,
It's
I
almost there.
think yeah. I kind of maybe yeah.
So
Okay, I
what
kind of
if
stop.
maybe present the PowerPoint now and then share that screen. So on your
Oh,
computer,
okay.
present it and then share the screen that is
Okay.
being shared.
Should I click there? Yeah, your computer, I guess. Okay. Let me. Okay. Uh,
It's always fun with new technology that
excuse
you've never used
me.
before.
Excuse me.
No,
Yeah,
it's okay. Don't worry about it. This is fine.
I'm getting there. Yeah, I uploaded it. I guess now I can share screen. Yeah. Okay. Yep, and I click share, and this is how it is, and then I click the present. Is it working
So
now?
no, I think you need to click present before you share your screen. But it's I think we can probably make do this
I think we can
way
probably, live with it.
if
It's
you want
sort of
for
big enough.
that. Oh, there we
Okay,
go.
maybe.
It
Oh, there you
works.
go. Perfect.
Is it
Well
okay?
done.
Okay.
Yes, that's great. Thanks,
All right.
Amali.
It's my pleasure. Yeah, I think yeah, I can move the slides. And so sorry for all this technical,
Good.
things. And good morning, good afternoon, and good day to you all. It's an honor and great pleasure to be here with you all with the Nature for All team. And yeah, so as Christina said, I'm Amali. Amali, Ranavi Thanthrige. Well, I get a pretty long name, but yeah, I'm from Sri Lanka. Youth and youth activities, I would say. And I started working for the, let's say, climate actions involved in youth movements about 4 years ago actually. So my I found my compassion and interest, of course, long time ago towards the nature, but I got the chance to involve in actions in practice back in my studies, during my studies back in South Korea when I did my bachelor's. So there I did my second bachelor actually in international relations, where I got where I got chance to involve in a lot of extra activities, and I had chance to involve in youth groups, those who are focusing on sustainability and environmental awareness and climate action and so on. So then I also got the chance to join with this youth organization called Global Youth Climate Challenges, GYCC. And we have actually annual conference where we gather global youth, those who have similar interest and compassion on climate actions and promoting awareness. So we gather in one place and we work together. We try to develop action plans, and then we, as a team, then we bring them all into reality in the end of the year. And then we're going to present and share our ideas and so on. So we continue those works. So I first joined the conference in 2020, and then 2020-21, and also again last year, 2022. And I'm waiting for the 2023 conference. And if I can mention a bit about my professional background, so I'm currently working as an administrative officer in NGO called Korea Korea Friends of Hope International, where we also focus on SDGs and sustainable development and try to enhance lives in Sri Lanka, particularly. So those that would be very brief info about me.
Excellent. Thank you. So we wanted to talk to you today a little bit about nature and what it means to you. Where is nature? What is nature for you? And also, I guess, what your personal connection to nature is.
Yeah. Okay, I think I can move the slides maybe
Oh, yeah,
a
you
bit.
can roll
Yeah.
along. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Uh, while answering to your questions, maybe I'll try to also address these parts. So
You've got,
yeah, the first
yeah.
question is quite similar. Uh, so here, I believe that we all have our own definition for the nature, but yeah, these are just the internet definition, I would say. But I really like this definition from a Britannica dictionary, which says the physical world and everything in it. And I think I have quite similar idea. I believe, and I would define nature as everything around us. And we, the human beings, we don't own the nature, I would say, but we are part of nature. So that's why it's our utmost duty and responsibility to protect our nature and always be very careful and consider how our actions are going to impact not only our lives but also the nature. And we have always this give and take in our lives. So I think we honestly, human beings, we are taking so much from nature, but what we are returning to nature in the opposite way. I Sadly, I would say we don't return always positive things to nature. So currently we are experiencing all of these wildfire, earthquakes and floods, and so many consequences of climate crisis and climate change. But we can't blame to nature or any other things, because we are resulting or benefiting whatever we have done so far through the history as human beings. I think nature is everything, and we all are part of it, and it's our duty that we all have to pay close attention, and that we all have a significant role to play in environmental protection.
Yeah. Excellent. Very, very good description of nature. So let's hear a little bit about the work that you do in inspiring and connecting other people with nature, and how you educate them on everything you just wonderfully described there. How do you get other people on board through the programs that you do? It'd be great to hear about that. Yeah.
Right. So I think, in the next slide, maybe I can, here are some of the examples actually for what I have been doing so far. Uh, well, actually, still I'm not a professional or expert in the field of environmental studies, but I'm really interested and looking forward to pursue my higher studies and get more knowledge on it, so that I can contribute to nature and our society as much as possible. But we'll say maybe as a former student and as a youth activities. So I was doing various volunteering activities. So I'm still a part of different volunteering groups. If I can mention a few names, so I was a member of International World in Korea, which is an youth and international people's organization based in South Korea, where we do of course, different kind of volunteering activities, but we are mainly focusing on SDGs. And we did some activities such as beach cleaning and river cleaning, and so in general environmental cleaning, and tried to promote awareness on how we can keep our environmental clean while we live our lives, while we entertain and enjoy our lives. And then another example is, yes, I'm a part of, as I mentioned, a Global Youth Climate Challenges, GYCC. We have a lab called Youth Lab, where we all the youth from different countries are joined together and work. We do different kind of research to bring attention the regional issues. In this year, actually, we are focusing on the theme deforestation. So how much we have lost our forest diversity throughout the years, and what we need to do, and what are the actions that actually have a cause or damage to damage the existing forest percentage in our countries, and then what we can do as youth. But not only as youth, we also try to bring attention from our communities, because we have different people from different countries. Again, for example, I'm also I'm also a team leader, so my team is team 1. So we are representing South Asia, so we are focusing on deforestation issues in South Asia. So while we are developing our action plan, actually, we wanted to publish a web magazine. This is actually one of picture, if you can see the bioeconomic flux. So I'm so happy to announce that we were able to publish the first issue of our magazine the last December 31st, actually. So one of the main point is that in this magazine we wanted to add the issues and the contents not only in English, though English is the lingua franca, but we wanted to add information in different languages. For example, Sinhala, which is my native language in Sri Lanka, and also we try to add Hindi and Bengali and other languages, aiming at to reach everyone in our society, because we believe that sustainability or living eco-friendly life or climate actions or environmental awareness shouldn't be limited to one certain group. And if we can use our native language to promote those information, promote awareness, I think then we can reach out to everyone in the society, because we understand that sometimes not everyone is confident and familiar in English. So that's why we wanted to use all the possible languages in our magazine to reach out to everyone. And so that was the magazine was one of our short-term goal. And then we are planning to introduce actually education materials that we can introduce to schools, especially schools not only in the cities but in even urban rural areas, and also to rural communities, because they are the one who lives very close to nature, right? There are so many farmers in our countries, especially Sri Lanka. We also our economy also based on agriculture in a way. So we think it's important to promote awareness not only to youth or school students, but also to the rural communities and all the stakeholders. So that's one example. And then yes, I'm involved in learning and knowledge sharing. So I try to join all the possible online courses that are related to environmental studies and sustainability. So just one example is I was a student of sustainable school, which was organized by Center for Environmental Justice in Sri Lanka. There we learn so much about what is sustainability and what is the local stated of sustainability, and and what are the existing rules and regulation, and how we can fill the gaps, especially in terms of promoting awareness in terms of environmental justice, because there are so many illegal actions, and when it comes to clearing forest and illegal logging and things in our society. So then there I learned things happen because people don't know that we can actually take certain actions in legal when we are witnessing these kind of illegal things in our surrounding. As citizens, we don't have to have certain powers, titles to involve in these actions. And then lastly, yes, I try to adapt eco-friendly lifestyle. So I didn't focus that area much when I was school kid. I tried to buy water bottles everywhere, and I didn't care about plastic usage and so on. But after I realized that how much damage our actions to the forest and overall our nature, so then I focused on to change my lifestyle. So I tried to, those are very simple action, of course, like using a tumbler and using recycle bags whenever you go for shoppings, and educating in a way my mom and my relatives to use and change their lifestyles to eco-friendly life one. And also maybe recently I also tried to kind of monitoring how much I'm wasting my food, so in that way I can manage. And I'm trying to always take only what I can eat and only what I eat, so in that way I can also contribute to our culture, sorry, our society and our nature. And I can also contribute to reduce, food waste and overall waste. So those are maybe some examples for how
Yeah, a lot of examples. That's awesome. One of the other questions we've been asking, and I've sort of got a couple more, but a main one that's come through is sounding like similar to who I spoke with before, Ruchi, like just you're finding all these ways to empower young people to take action, because we hear, as you say, a lot of sort of devastating stories around loss of nature. So do you find that that's a kind of, not easy is not the right word, but a good way to get young people involved is to let them feel like they are contributing, they're doing something meaningful, and you've got all these different sort of ways of doing that. So do you think that's really helpful to have those different avenues for people to get involved when they're younger and they might hear a lot of doom and gloom online and things like that?
I think, well, when I look around the other countries and the youth in other countries, I would say they are very of course it depends on people, but again in general I would say youth, especially nowadays, they're very focused and concerned about climate crisis. So especially I think maybe it's because of now we in this digital light world, so we have all the information, and we always watching things like Instagram, or it could be Facebook or YouTube, like we can experience things, those we though we live in far away, but we can experience things as we live in that place at that moment, something happening, right? For example, the recent earthquake, or maybe the frequent wildfires that happen in Australia, and that damage lots of koala lives and even human beings, right?
Yeah.
So I think those news and those incidents are kind of, in a way, like, yes, they are sign of warnings, but also again like awakening signs for the youth and the people in our world. So because of that, people are trying to, especially youth, are trying to engage, and we have seen so many ongoing protests, like starting from Greta. I think she was, a great inspiration for all of us. She kind of, in a way, she reminded that all of us, yes, we can't just stay back and focus on our work. That we have to do something.
Yeah.
And then if I come to Sri Lanka, yes, I have seen recently that many youth are engaging in different kind of youth activities. For example, yes, the Zero Plastic Club is one of the organization, volunteering organization. There are so many youth, especially we have about 18 universities, government universities in Sri Lanka. So all the universities are involved in this project or this volunteering group. So they are promoting, yes, reducing plastic through different kind of activities. And also there are like Movers Club, if you are aware of, which is also cooperating and coordinating with, I think, UNDP and other other international and local organizations. So we have also I'm also part of Movers Club, and I have seen different youths and with different backgrounds. So they have a various academic background and professional backgrounds. So nowadays they are very interested and passionate about what's happening in our around us. One of the very simple and recent example that I can share is actually we in Sri Lanka there was this festival called Deep Jungle. Deep Forest Festival. The organization, because Sri Lanka is a country focused on tourism when it comes to income. Actually, but this festival, of course, it's a good way to promote tourism and the culture and everything, nature in Sri Lanka among tourists. But then these environmental activities and the youth, those who involve in climate actions and those who love nature, they notice that this is not something eco-friendly, because if we do this kind of festival, especially they were planning to do this in a forest where we have two elephant sanctuaries, so that could in a way violate and disturb wildlife. So people were actively engaging in social media. We had different campaigns, stuff, and say no to the first festivals. So, and finally, the court announced that the cancellation of the first festival. So that was one of the successful story. I think things like these are happening because nowadays a youth actively engage in environmental activities, and they care about nature. And I believe not only youth, all the members in our society, everyone in our society, we all have a duty to involve in climate action and promote environmental awareness as who we are from where we are. Yes, because I personally believe every single action matter. We all can do something.
Absolutely. Excellent. Thank you, Amali. Beautiful answer. Well, we're going to end on the last question, which is basically nature for all. What does that mean to you?
Yes. Maybe I can show the last slide if here so this is what I think I mentioned, what we can do.
Yes.
Right, we can start from where we are, and then we can start small, but then we have to continue, and then we have to stay focused, and we can set examples. We don't need to be professional or experts. We can set examples for our friends, relatives, and families and people around us, and then we need to serve and save. We can save our nature through changing our lifestyles, and then we can save our planets eventually, because in the end, all simple actions are going to make big influence in the outcomes. So yes, and nature for all, I think it says everything. Nature for all, right? So I remember I was when I was a kid. Actually, we had this lesson in the Sinhala textbook. Sinhala is our native language, so we had this subject in our school curriculum. So in our textbook, we had a lesson related to Red Indian chief Sito and his love for nature. So I think he once said that whatever we do to the web, we do to ourselves. The web means lives and nature, I think. So whatever we do to nature, we do it to ourselves, because all things are bound together and all things are connected. So I think we all are connected with nature. So if we damage nature and our environment, then we damage to ourselves. So that's why I say we all have to act right now, because I think the UN released this code Bread for Humanity in 2021, right? So the earth is getting so hot, and we are witnessing all of these consequences nowadays. I don't think that there's a place we can hide or we can run. Right.
No.
So, and also, we cannot always pointing out to global leaders and blame them. Of course, we must force them, urge them to take climate action and give priority to climate action. But still, I think as citizens, everyone, we all can involve in climate actions and protect our environment with whatever skills we have. As I mentioned, so it can be just taking a tumbler whenever you go outside to drink coffee, right? Instead of using plastic cup or bottle, then you can use a recycled cup or bottle, right? And you can reduce using your washing machines, or you can use you can reduce your shower time, and you can always look around and turn off the lights that are not using. So those are very simple things. People like say, oh, they don't look like big things, but I think yes, though they don't look like big actions, but these simple actions can create a huge impact in our society, in our nature, when it comes to outcomes. And those things can reduce the negative consequence of climate crisis, because we have to hand over this nature, environment, and everything to our next generation. So yes, nowadays we are blaming to our past generation, but if we do the same mistake, then our future generations are going to blame us too. So I think yes, we all are for nature, so we all have to always think how we can live a sustainable and eco-friendly life, and how we can actively involve in climate actions. And yes, we are running out of time. We can postpone to next
I'm sure we could,
meeting.
both keep talking about act now, act together. I
Yes,
love that
yes,
in your last
yes,
slide.
we
So
have to do it
beautiful
right
words.
now.
Yeah. Thank you
Yes.
so much, Amali. It's been really lovely to talk to you. I think, Jose, if you're there online, we might wrap this one up. And I think that might be the end of my moderating duties, which has
It
been
is. Thank you, Amali.
fantastic.
Thank you so much for
Thanks,
joining and taking
Amali.
the time. I know it's pretty early in the morning for you, I believe.
Oh.
So thank you so much, and we'll wrap this up. Actually, so I'll put Amali in the back, but Christina, you are more than happy to. I'm more than happy to have you, sign off. I'm going to be sharing a pre-recorded interview after this
Yep.
that we did, and then I'll wrap it out after that. But thank you so much. I think this was amazing. Like we had a few people in Australia, then we went to
Yeah.
Indonesia, India, then back
Yeah.
to Sri Lanka, and
Yeah.
it's such amazing to see the amazing stories, but there's a lot of connectivity and connection already happening. It's great.
Yeah, and common themes, like everything that they were talking about. I'm like, yes, yes, yes. Like it's just really cool to hear those things going on around the world as well. So
Definitely.
very
Sounds good.
beautiful
All
thing
right.
to be a part of. Thank you, Jose.
Thank you so much. And we're actually going to
Okay.
go off to Bhutan now because, well, why
Okay.
not?
No worries. Have fun in Bhutan.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
See you
Bye-bye.
soon. Bye.
So this is a pre-recorded interview that was done a few weeks ago, and I want to share it because I think it's a really important story. And anyways, I'll just go directly into it because it actually touches me personally as well. And so I'll play it here and go from there and let you figure it out.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining. I guess I'll just like jump right into it if that's all right. Is there a time that you first fell in love with nature that kind of guided you to this role, or
So it's basically like I have studied forestry for my undergrads. After that, then I just joined the National Biodiversity Center. So it's where I work. So the Royal Botanical Garden is under the National Biodiversity Center.
nice.
So I'm
Right.
actually working as the manager of the Royal Botanical Garden right now.
Okay. And was there a reason as to why you had studied forestry, or like when you were younger, or
Yes, it's actually biology was my favorite subject growing up. So from the ninth standard till the 12th standard, I was always like more towards biology, and then so it's like I have more interest towards biology. And then after my year 12, then I thought it was better to join the forestry section. When I was in year 12, then we had this classes on how to dissect all those flowers and stuffs. So that's interesting.
you said that the project came up at the Center of Biodiversity. Was it like, how did that like idea come to be? What got inspired by it? And yeah.
Yes. So we had this project, Nature for All. So we had it names like Nature for All, an inclusive nature garden for people with disabilities. So it's a project supported by the Jeff Small Grants Program under UNDP Bhutan. So we have a group of youth, they're named as Shenpen Group, which is basically like helping others. But these group of guys, they are also disabled. So they are a group of basically more boys who are blind. So they came up with the idea, and then they got the support from UNDP. So we worked in partnership, and then our main idea was to make the Royal Botanical Garden more accessible. So before it was like we had a slight accessibility, but the footpaths and all were like stones. So our first idea was to make the footpath more accessible, and then after that we started incorporating like signboards, and then braille like though that braille thing where the people with blindness, they can also read all the signboards and stuff. So we're still in the process of doing all these things. And then we also had uh, ramps and railings, so now it's more accessible to all. It's useful, like even the elderly, even the children, they are easily using the footpath and stuff. So we also have this it's also a part of this project only. So we are also uh, constructing this accessible toilet. So in a way it's more like we're more advocating on being inclusive
In general, just to
yeah
be able to cater to many needs.
Yeah.
That's great.
So then it's more like people initially, like especially in Bhutan, we do not have much accessible parks and stuffs. So it's, I think, an issue almost everywhere. But then now we're starting to address these kind of things.
Yeah, it was really touching having like watching the video and seeing
Mhm,
their
yeah,
experience and not being able to go out, or remembering in the past what nature
Yeah.
felt like, but now they were able to, which was really sweet.
Mhm.
And has
So
there
we
been
still,
it's still a work in progress for sure.
yeah.
And has there been more changes from that video until now, or is it just like continuing what was put in place?
Uh, so the garden has seen more visitors as a result of all these uh, video, and we also have our botanical gardens Facebook page, so we constantly update there. So now we are seeing a lot of visitors, especially the people with disabilities. We're seeing more visitors from that section as well. So I think it's helping.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, like it also extends to like the elderly and
Yes,
just,
and the
people.
kids.
How was creating this project? How was the experience?
I think it was a great experience, and through that project also we had a session, like a 1 day training where the Disabled People's Organization of Bhutan. They gave us a 1-day training into how we can properly talk with the people with disabilities, or how we should better interact. So I think that made changed our minds, and now basically working with our partner Shenfen Group, so we're more comfortable. uh, Initially when we interact with especially people who has a sort of disability, we're like, it's not that we're differentiating them, but then it's in our minds that we feel like, oh, they they are a bit like that. So we feel we do not even go and then talk to them, like interact with them. So now that we know how to deal with them and how to approach them, so I think it has a lot of benefit. Our staff, all the botanical garden staffs, we had that 1-day training, and I think it has helped us a lot.
Yeah, that's true. Just being aware of how to be more
Yeah.
inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's nice that they gave like a 1-day training, because I guess a lot
Yeah.
of us don't know necessarily how, and
Yes.
hearing it from them
Yes.
must be
Mm-hmm.
really like a collaborative
Yes.
project.
So,
Yeah.
and also to supplement the funding support by UNDP, the small grants program, that fund was not enough. So we applied to the Australian Volunteers Program as well. So from there, we also got some support, and it
Mhm.
was able to, we were able to install the signboards, and then we were also able to support the Shenpen group with some music lessons.
Oh,
So I think it
that's so
was really
fun.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's really sweet. Yeah, because in the video, there's someone playing the guitar at one point.
Yeah.
So
They're currently learning how to play all the music instruments. In fact, on
every
Monday
single
we're
one.
going to, yeah, have this rehearsal. I think on Thursday the UN Assistant Secretary General is visiting, so we're preparing a program only for that Nature for All
Oh,
project. So they're
in
going to
music.
play live music and
Wow, that's
yeah.
really cool. Has there been any difficulties in this whole like project process?
There wasn't any difficulties as such, but COVID was
Right.
some, I don't know, it was basically present everywhere. So because of the COVID, I think our construction phase, I think it was a bit distorted somewhere, but then
Mhm.
we were able to put them together, and I think everything worked out fine.
Yeah, is most of the garden indoor or it's both? Like ex
uh the garden is outdoors. It's
fully
like
outdoor?
yeah, we
Mhm.
have an area of 32 acres,
Wow.
but people are accessible only like half of it. During the initial stage, I was uh, like being the manager of the botanical garden, and having that project was more like, okay, so I have to be a part of it. But now that we have done that, and I know how it feels, and how uh, there is this thing, like I was interacting with our friends, like the Shenpen group and all, and then we have our partners from SGP, the Small Grants Program, and then we also have our friends who guide us on how to deal with people with disabilities, like from friends from the Disabled People's Organization of Bhutan. So now I think I'm more towards uh, being able to, I don't know, how create awareness and to
Mhm.
advocate on disability and being inclusive in general. I think it's an important issue to discuss, and then to be like aware for everybody. I think it's nice to be a part of it.
Yeah, that's lovely because it's like you were surrounded by it and you got people to kind of guide you through it, and now you feel
Yes.
confident in
Yeah.
spreading that message
Hmm.
to everyone.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
Yeah. So now I
Um,
think it's become a part of my life as well. It's
yeah,
really nice being
yeah,
able to at least be there.
yeah, and just even apply it to other parts of your life too, I would assume,
Yeah.
like, or
Like now where I'm on a personal level, I think I'm more aware. Our project mainly started from the Nature for All, the concept that you guys have,
right.
especially our friend in the UNDP. I think he's he's also very concerned, and I think he feels for like nature and for everybody. So he was also one of the main person who brought us all together and work for this cause. So I think
Same.
our main inspiration was from that only. And then especially during COVID times, we were all locked in, and then we felt like, oh, like we are able to go outside. But then the people who are living with disabilities, like even if there weren't no COVID, still it's the same for them. So that's the main thing, like how this project came into being.
Yeah, that's great. Even though it was COVID and everything, like it made
Mhm.
people think of a different
Yeah, yeah.
lifestyle that people have to live. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
for sure.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you for having me.
Of course.
And that concludes our session for the night, or this part of the Nature for All Love Fest. And we're going to be back online in about less than 3 hours for some more interviews. We hope you can join us then. Until then, good morning, good night, and good afternoon. And we'll see you at the next sessions.